G'day everyone, thanks for stopping by. It's getting a little bit dark and it's time to head inside, but we're going to do a quick intro for the Zito Power Exchange 18 volt pruner. This is what we're looking at today. It's out of the 18 volt Power Exchange range. So running off the battery, the same as all of the other Power Exchange tools that we've done reviews on. So we've covered off chainsaws, vacuums, chainsaw, chain sharpener, the hybrid inflator, links up into the corner, and I do have an Zito playlist. So if you're looking at these tools and you want to see some reviews of these, have a look at the Zito playlist, link up in the top right hand corner there. That'll show the playlist to all the Zito tools I've done previously. Still to come, I've got the actual reciprocating saw version of this tool, and I've also got the 18 volt buffer for polishing the car and stuff like that. That's a real handy little bit of kit. But in the meantime, let's get a quick look at this pruner. Now I've got this thing that's taken up residence behind the kayaks. I don't know what it is, so I've just been letting it go. Perhaps somebody can tell me what that is. It's got these things on it here. It's right under my locust tree and it's getting too big, so it needs to go. Surprisingly enough, it's actually really hard timber. I tried to get it with not an axe, but a pick, and I couldn't get it by hand, so that's why I've gone and grabbed the tools. And for that, it's perfect. Okay, so that's roughly the size of the stuff that we're taking down. So that's doing that, not a problem at all. And battery wise, I'm still on 2 bars, which is what I had when I started, so very efficient on the battery. We're going to try some smaller stuff. I'm really liking this. Making a real nice cut as well, real nice and smooth. I guess that blade's just getting held in that right place and it's just not allowing it to jump around and make a dirty cut. So here we go, we'll just take some smaller stuff off this as well. And I'm finding that when I finish the cut, the blade has gone through and it's just getting caught on that upper guard. So what you do is just grab it, lift it back and to release. Let it go again. Basically it's very, very similar to the Recipro, but I'm really liking this mechanism that holds that branch in place. It stops it from jumping around. Obviously you can remove that if you want to, but I'm really seeing the benefits of having this guard, or the holder, whatever you want to call it, the clamp, the jaws, on the pruner itself, and I'm immediately seeing the benefits for holding under branches while you're cutting through them. So I think you can see from my front yard, this isn't even the backyard yet, lots of pruning to be done. And to be honest, normally I would just grab chainsaw. In the past I've done a hand saw. Now that I've got that little 18 volt Zito chainsaw, that has been my go-to for going around and just pruning stuff. It is a one-handed operation, obviously safer with 2, same as this. It is much lighter than the chainsaw, similar to some of my reports on the other Zito stuff that they've sent me, where I've already had a tool that I've been using to do the job. Having the right tool, no cords, no leads. Some of these things they've sent out to me, must admit, I went, you know what, it's great, I really appreciate the fact they sent it out to me, but how much use am I going to get out of it? Then I start using the stuff and I'm like, look what I've been missing all this time. And it is an ever so slightly variable trigger, so you can get it up to speed a little bit and go slow if you need to. So there is a little bit of a range in there. It'll start off slow and then it gets a bit of pressure and it speeds up. You'll see that here. So you'll see it'll go at 1 speed, a little bit of pressure on it, and that kicks off. It almost like doubles or triples the revs. Very effective, you'll see. 1 speed, put some pressure on it, and away she goes. So obviously when I get these new tools, I'm out and about and I'm testing them, I'm trying them, everything. I'm trying to, not necessarily push them to their limits, but give them a good go. This is realistically what I would expect of this tool. So I'd expect it to be able to do a full pruning job. I wanted it to do the front, I wanted to do all the stuff out the back. But this is coming in very handy for pruning. Seems solid enough, got enough power. I'm able to do anything up to about probably a 3-inch, maybe a 4-inch branch. If I needed to do anything bigger, I'd just take that guard off and then just use that, and then you've got the length of the saw blade. Obviously you could put bigger saw blades in it. As far as the blades go, it is the same as a reciprocating saw, so any of your reciprocating saw blades are going to fit in this and you can use that. Obviously you want to focus on a pruning blade though. This is a tougher timber, so it's taking a little bit longer, but it's no problem. We'll do one left-handed just to show you that we can. Eyewear is probably a necessity here. Probably don't want to be doing anything too much bigger than this is capable, but that's probably a realistic limit. If I would though. Just to show you, we need to get in here into this fork, and it is okay to get into sort of tighter spaces. You can sort of slip it around and slide it down, so you can get into reasonable sort of angles. So that's going to be about your limit if you're going to try and cut from the inside out. That's my hand there to give you some sort of reference. So it's about half a hand, again maybe a couple of inches or something like that to the base. You can see I was able to take that right down just from coming from the other side. Boom. And you can see that pile of stuff behind me just there. I've knocked that off a couple of minutes just shooting this video. Certainly capable of doing more than that, and I don't think I've even used 1 bar on the battery, so it's fairly battery efficient. So one of the benefits of the pruner is this little jaw that it's got, which basically allows you to lock that on whatever you're cutting and it holds it in place. It stops that basically vibrating all over the place. Depending on the thickness of the material you've got, you still get a little bit of the vibration and you still have to rely on a little bit of physical strength to hold it on. This definitely has an oscillating sort of movement in it, so the blade is going like this. So it's not a bad thing if you've got a blade that only cuts in the pull direction, that'd be alright. This is one of the Diablo blades that Ozito sent out to me for the purpose of the review, just to I guess give the saw a little bit better chance of performing at its best. It works really well on anything sort of, you know, 2 to 3 inches. So stuff you would normally use a hand saw for. Keep in mind it's pruning, not cutting. So if you want to cut and you're talking trunks and that sort of stuff, you want something else. This is probably not the tool for you. But anybody who's a little bit older maybe, you've got a garden and you need to do a lot of pruning, you're cutting anything from 1, 2 or 3 inches, then this is a good tool for you. Now the reason I say that is there's not a lot of weight in this. It's one-handed operation, so probably a 3 amp is a good match for this. You could probably go with one of the 2s if you want to lighten it up. But if you can't operate a chainsaw or some other hand sort of pruner out in the garden, you're getting a little bit older or your dexterity in your hands isn't real fantastic, then this is not a bad tool at all. There is a little bit of a challenge though, in that this is your safety lock on both sides. Sometimes I do find it a little bit tricky to engage that safety lock to squeeze that trigger. But I want to go and prune the top of this tree here. Now I did this not long ago with the chainsaw and the little 18 volt, which was great. When I was navigating the top of that tree, it was precarious. Now I did have my climbing harness on just in case the worst happened. I had somebody else here that could make a phone call if I fell out of the tree. But I had myself braced to the tree with the climbing harness and stuff. So had I fallen, that would have stopped me from hitting the ground. Still mightn't have been a great situation, but I was as safe as I could be. Wielding a chainsaw at that sort of height whilst climbing a tree is not fantastic. The little 18 volt, I was able to use it one-handed. Again, not the safest scenario, but I was as safe as I could be. But this is going to come back up that tree with me, and we're going to knock off that little point just there, because that's been bothering me. It was just something that I missed when I was up there with the chainsaw. I can use this at arm's length and not be fatigued. It's certainly not going to fatigue as much as trying to use a chainsaw one-handed, and it's going to be safer. As you can see, I've used this in a number of different scenarios. I've used it out the front to prune some trees. I've used it out the back here to prune some trees. I was doing a combination between this and the reciprocating saw just to see whether there was much difference. Like, I was thinking, well, you know, I just got a reciprocating saw, why won't I just use that? This is a very similar tool. But what I have found is this mechanism is super handy in maintaining that contact with the branch or whatever it is you're pruning, and it just holds it in place and makes the whole thing just that much easier. Perfect for the smaller stuff, not so great on the bigger stuff. That's when you're either going to go possibly a reciprocating saw, but I'd go and just grab the chainsaw. Again, battery stuff, it's so convenient. I put this away, battery always goes on charge. I went and grabbed this, slapped it on, I'm good to go. And it doesn't take me any longer to go and get the chainsaw out and be doing the same thing. So now again, I know I always seem to focus on saying, you know, for older people this might be handy. I'm just wary of, you know, when my mother was still around, the things that she used to try and use in the garden, some things she wasn't necessarily capable of. My father's about 80 years old, also I guess aware of what he's capable of lifting, not lifting, how much effort he's able to exert. So I guess for that sort of, obviously if you're younger, you're going to be able to do this. This is not going to be a problem for you at all. But because I've had that experience, and I guess quite often older people are more inclined to be active out in the garden. You know, you get this sort of colour hair for some reason, you just automatically get drawn to work out in the garden, do that sort of stuff. And quite possibly you're the people who have a good sized property and need to get out and prune, but you need to do it with a smaller amount of effort. And you know, this is probably a good tool for you. So apologies for banging on about the older people. I just know that these sorts of things definitely come in handy for that sort of age bracket. Not having a go. Anyway, that's the pruner. Thanks very much for stopping by. Any questions, let me know. Stick them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you with answers to the questions when I've got the reply, and I'll pass on your feedback. Cheers guys, catch you in the next one.